Fine. Wait. Something deeply unsettling has been unfolding across the United States, and millions of ordinary people are already feeling the consequences. Along the West Coast, walls of water have been slamming into shorelines far beyond what anyone expected, flooding roads, homes, and harbors again and again without pause. At the same time, families in Washington state woke up to rivers pouring through neighborhoods that had never flooded before, forcing them to flee within minutes, leaving behind everything they owned. And beneath all of that, far below the Pacific Ocean, the seafloor itself is rising in silence, pressure building where no one can see it, but where modern life depends on fragile, unseen systems. In the Midwest, a sudden snow squall erased visibility in minutes. One wrong second triggered massive pileups, trapping drivers inside twisted metal with no warning at all. This isn't one disaster, it's fear spreading coast to coast, and it raises a question that's hard to ignore. When disruptions strike land, sea, and sky all at once, is this random chaos? Or is something trying to get our attention? Far beyond shipping lanes and radar screens, the Pacific Ocean west of the United States is no longer still. While daily life on land continues as if nothing is wrong, the ground beneath the ocean is quietly changing. Nearly 300 miles west of Oregon, sensors anchored directly to the seafloor are recording steady uplift at axial seamount, a massive underwater volcano buried beneath roughly 1,400 meters of water. According to real-time data from the Ocean Observatory's initiative, supported by NOAA, the summit is rising millimeter by millimeter, and with measurements transmitted every 15 minutes. This isn't a model. It isn't speculation. It's physical movement recorded beneath the ocean itself. What makes this moment unsettling is the consistency. The uplift isn't slowing. It's persistent, ongoing, a clear sign that pressure is building beneath the Earth's crust. At the same time, dense swarms of small earthquakes are repeating beneath the volcano's caldera, tightly clustered, signaling rock cracking as magma forces its way upward. Scientists describe the system as actively pressurizing, not returning to normal background behavior. There's no steam, no ash, no glow on the horizon. Everything is happening in total darkness beneath thousands of tons of seawater. But instruments don't lie. The seafloor is deforming like a heavy lid bulging under pressure. Axial seamount has followed this pattern before. In 1998, 2011, and 2015, steady uplift and earthquake swarms were followed by sudden release. In 2015 alone, nearly 8,000 earthquakes were recorded in just 24 hours, followed by the seafloor dropping more than 2.4 meters as pressure violently escaped. Today, the same warning signals are appearing again. Scientists can measure the pressure, but they can't predict which fracture will fail first. The moment of release remains unknowable. Long before humanity placed instruments on the ocean floor, Scripture spoke of the deep places of the earth stirring. Job asks, "Have you journeyed to the springs of the sea or walked in the recesses of the deep?" A reminder that the hidden depths are not silent and do not move without purpose. Revelation speaks of a great mountain cast into the sea, shaking the waters. For centuries, that language was read symbolically. Now, scientists are watching a literal mountain beneath the sea inflate and strain under rising pressure in real time. What begins beneath the Pacific does not stay there. Just days after scientists confirmed that the ocean floor west of the United States is rising under increasing pressure, the surface of the ocean itself turned violent along California's coastline. Massive waves exceeding 16 feet slammed into the coast without pause. Seawalls were overtopped, harbors were battered, coastal roads flooded across multiple counties, not during a single storm, but through repeated surges that refused to stop. Meteorologists confirmed that multiple Pacific systems arrived back to back, stacking energy in the ocean with no time to settle. Strong southerly winds pushed water directly toward shore, while peak king tides raised sea levels before the waves even arrived. The most dangerous element wasn't just wave height, it was timing. Long-period swells, spaced 18 to 20 seconds apart, created eerie moments of calm. People stepped closer. Then, without warning, a single surge rushed far inland with immense force. NOAA buoy data confirmed the danger. Malibu, Venice Beach, and Santa Monica saw water pouring over sand and railings. Harbors from Ventura to Monterey faced closures. One resident said it plainly. The ocean went quiet for a moment, then came farther than ever before. It felt like it was reaching. Scripture warns that before great shaking, the sea and the waves will roar. At first, the ground beneath the ocean rises, then the surface answers. Pressure below, violence above, calm between strikes. This isn't one isolated event, and it didn't stop at the coast. In Washington state, residents across both western and eastern regions woke to streets turned into rivers. Water rushed through neighborhoods before official warnings could even be issued. Families had minutes to choose between grabbing what they could or fleeing with nothing. The cause wasn't a single storm, but multiple atmospheric rivers striking in rapid succession, dumping intense rain onto ground already saturated. There was no recovery window. Flood control systems were overwhelmed almost immediately. Interstate 5 shut down, cutting one of the most critical transportation arteries on the West Coast. Landslides buried highways, isolating communities. Rail lines washed out. Officials described the situation as a cascading failure, one breakdown triggering another. Parts of eastern Washington received over a month's worth of rain in less than 48 hours. People weren't injured because they ignored warnings, but because there was no time left to respond. For those familiar with Scripture, the pattern feels disturbingly familiar. Genesis describes floods beginning not with rain alone, but with the fountains of the great deep bursting forth. Amos warns that when the Lord touches the land, it melts, and all who dwell in it mourn. Rivers rising together, land vanishing overnight, infrastructure failing in layers. Is this merely natural disaster or a warning that something deeper is shifting? Then came Yellowstone. For months it appeared quiet. Our tourists walked boardwalks, steam drifted gently, nothing felt urgent. Then Steamboat Geyser erupted without warning, sending superheated water and steam more than 500 feet into the air. The eruption wasn't brief. Steam continued rising for hours, a sign of sustained pressure release. Steamboat doesn't follow a schedule. It waits, sometimes for decades, then erupts with explosive force. Its cycles are irregular and deeply tied to underground pressure shifts. Witnesses reported a deep roaring sound, ground trembling beneath walkways, wooden paths cracking under rapid changes. What looked like a simple steam event was the surface expression of violent activity below. Around the same period, seismic activity struck the region, reminding scientists how tightly Yellowstone's hydrothermal and magmatic systems are linked. Now Scripture says, "He looks at the earth and it trembles. He touches the mountains and they smoke." The question isn't whether Yellowstone is releasing pressure. It's what that release is connected to. Then, without warning, the Midwest was hit. A fast-moving snow squall tore through the Chicago area, turning wet pavement into blinding whiteout conditions in minutes. Snow fell at extreme rates inside a narrow band. Winds surged to near hurricane force. Visibility collapsed to almost nothing. Drivers lost sight of taillights ahead while still moving at highway speed. In northern Indiana, a chain reaction pileup involving more than 30 vehicles shut down major highways for hours. Transportation systems failed almost simultaneously. Forecasters emphasized the danger wasn't totals, but speed and surprise. The Scripture warns that disaster often comes while people are going about ordinary life, unaware. Normalcy is fragile, and when disruption arrives faster than reaction, it exposes how little control we truly have. Then came something that didn't fit weather, geology, or infrastructure at all. Over the open plains of the Midwest, witnesses reported a vertical blue beam of light rising silently into the sky. It didn't flicker. It didn't move with the wind. It simply stood there. Moments later, it widened into a glowing orange ring, suspended in the air, before fading away. The entire event lasted less than 2 minutes. Investigators found no storms, no lightning, no seismic activity, no solar flares, no launches, no military exercises. Experts ruled out auroras, reflections, and known plasma events. Witnesses didn't describe panic, and they described silence, confusion, and the feeling that the moment mattered. Scripture often treats unexplained light not as destruction, but communication, a warning meant to be noticed. Shortly after, witnesses in Utah reported something even stranger. A human-shaped metallic form appeared suspended in the clouds, upright and motionless, reflecting light like polished steel. It didn't drift. It didn't rotate. It didn't act. It watched. Then it vanished without sound or trace. Aviation authorities confirmed no aircraft. Meteorologists ruled out cloud illusion. What unsettled observers wasn't fear, but the sense of being observed. In Scripture, watchers appear before action, not after. Observation precedes judgment. Silence precedes movement. And that may be the most unsettling sign of all. Now, inland waterways across multiple regions are rising without corresponding rainfall, dam failures, or tidal influence. Flooding arrives quietly. Calm surfaces hide failure beneath. Streets flood under clear skies. Hydrologists can measure the rise but can't explain the cause. Systems that once followed sequence now move out of order. What connects these events isn't violence, it's displacement. Pressure below, misalignment above, land, sea, sky, and society responding independently, yet simultaneously. Science can explain how each event happens. It struggles to explain why they are converging now. Scripture calls this alignment the beginning of birth pains, not random, but increasing in frequency because something is approaching. Creation groans together, not separately. These signs are not meant to terrify, but to awaken. At exposure before collapse. Warning before consequence. What is unfolding across the United States no longer fits into separate categories. These aren't isolated stories. They are signals stacking, not spacing out. And when earth, sea, sky, and society all begin to speak at once, the message is never accidental.